It's okay, we're home.
I wasn't afraid of the flight.
Ever since the release of its first season back in September of 2018, it didn't take long for Manifest to become one of the most popular mystery dramas on NBC. With time, viewership numbers began to decline, resulting in a controversial cancellation of a fan favorite. But now that Manifest is experiencing a revival, can we expect a renewal as well? The origin and fall of Manifest. For those of you who haven't yet experienced the drama-filled franchise that is Manifest, we don't want to give too much away, as it's definitely worth the watch. Essentially speaking, the plot revolves around the passengers of a flight who disappeared in the year 2013, but then seemingly land in New York City a total of 5 years later. Both the passengers and their family members are pretty confused about how this was able to happen, with the showrunners keeping the mysterious nature of the situation pretty close to their chests. For a while, this was more than enough for Manifest, which brought in some impressive viewership numbers of the NBC network. Things didn't stay positive for too long, though. Despite the franchise remaining a fan favorite of the network, budgetary concerns and a drop in the show's statistics caused the network to cancel it after its third season, much to the surprise of its vocal fan base. There were so many questions that were left unanswered after all, and to leave the fans in such a confused state just didn't fare well. That being said, we understand why the network went on to make this decision. We are living in a pretty uncertain time at the moment, where the global health situation has wreaked havoc on the filming industry and budgets of networks and streaming platforms alike. Not only have a number of these platforms had to rethink their renewal and release strategies, they have also had to rethink what titles to maintain and continue, while viewers all over have had to cancel subscriptions due to financial concerns. Even now that the vaccination rate is at an all-time high across the globe, businesses are still suffering and having to lay off employees. As we mentioned earlier, this has resulted in a population that simply cannot afford certain luxuries. This has had negative effects on the budgets of both networks and streaming platforms. It's just unfortunate that popular shows like Manifest had to fall victim to the effects of this situation. A surge in popularity. Some streaming platforms are doing a lot better than others, though. A great example of this is Netflix, who has continued to release hit after hit despite finding itself in one of the most precarious financial slumps in the history of the world. We aren't saying that it hasn't been affected by the global health situation, as even Netflix has exhibited some unusual behavior over the last year and a bit. Think about how great life used to be in respect of Netflix renewals and releases, and you'll know exactly what we mean. Remember, the streaming platform used to renew popular shows on the regular before their current seasons had ever run their course, and release dates were often announced a year in advance, allowing subscribers to plan out their watch schedules well in advance. This is, however, no longer the case, with the streaming platform only renewing franchises that have shown a steady increase in viewership and announcing new release dates only once filming and post-production of a show has wrapped. Netflix has been affected by the global health situation, but it's not like the streaming platform is doing as bad as others. In fact, it's been able to jump on Manifest. We saw this back in June of this year when Season 1 and 2 of Manifest began to stream on Netflix, showing that the streaming platform must have acquired some of the rights to the show from rival network NBC, since Season 3 of the franchise had only launched on the network in April of this year. Netflix viewers were going to have to wait a while to sink their teeth into the NBC original. The only place where viewers could still stream all 3 seasons of the show was on Hulu and Peacock, both with deep connections to NBC. But despite this lack of full-blown content, the availability of Manifest on Netflix actually resulted in a resurgence of the franchise. Many viewers who had never actually heard of the NBC original fell in love with its description, knowing full well that there was a mystery that had to be solved with drama along the way, a formula that has been working for a couple decades now. In fact, for 27 days, Manifest was considered to be the most watched series on Netflix, causing it to rival the inception of shows like Ginny and Georgia, Bridgerton, and of course the infamous Tiger King documentary. How many views was this then? Well, according to a spokesperson from Netflix, around 1 billion views a week for 6 straight weeks. Now that's a solid interest in a show if we've ever seen one. As it turns out, things could be getting better for Manifest in the long run, even though season 3 of the franchise launched on NBC almost 5 months ago. Netflix has somehow also acquired the rights to this final installment. We know this because season 3 finally became available on the streaming platform a few days ago on August 21st. How the men and women at Netflix were able to secure this deal, we have no idea, as NBC surely could have capitalized on the popularity of this revival by keeping the final installment of the franchise for themselves. That being said, this could show just how much Netflix believes in the resurgence of the franchise, resulting in them paying NBC an exorbitant amount of money for all rights attached to the title. This is all conjecture, but we wouldn't be surprised if this was indeed the state of affairs in reality. The renewal of Manifest. This is obviously great news for the fans of Manifest, but we shouldn't count our chickens before they hatch. Although we know that the season 3 finale of the show left space for a 4th season to continue, Manifest has not yet been confirmed for a future installment. We also have no idea whether the cast of the show are open or available to give themselves to those characters again after having their hearts broken by the NBC cancellation. We know what Netflix usually does when it comes to the renewal of franchises, so we know what to look out for to see whether there is at least some hope that season 4 will be reaching us sometime in the future. More often than not, Netflix waits about a month after the release of a new series to confirm that viewership standards and statistics are high enough to call for a renewal. While Manifest isn't exactly a new franchise, it is new to the streaming platform, causing it to fall into this specific category. That being said, there isn't much need to wait for the end of the month to renew the series, considering the insane viewership numbers that the show has displayed over the past few weeks. Of the 200 million subscribers that Netflix can currently boast, a great portion have found themselves addicted to the mysterious drama of Manifest, which leaves just one problem in the way of a full-scale revival: the specific rights that have been acquired by Netflix. Has the streaming platform been given the right to take over the franchise in all respects, or merely to stream the franchise on behalf of NBC? In order to get to the bottom of this, we'll have to look to the past. As it turns out, there are quite a few examples of shows being revived by Netflix over the past few years. One of the best examples of these is Cobra Kai, the karate drama that served as the continuation of the Karate Kid franchise of the 1980s. The show was first released on YouTube Red, where it was able to stay for a grand total of 2 seasons before reaching the extent of its popularity. Although by far the best show to ever stream on the platform, YouTube Red didn't exactly have an extensive fan base. So when Netflix came along and acquired the rights to the show, bringing season 1 and 2 to a much broader audience, we saw a massive surge in popularity, as is the case with Manifest. Wouldn't you know it, but Netflix decided to jump at the opportunity to revive the show, bringing it back for a popular 3rd and 4th season, which is about to release in the next few months. This is one of the situations in which Netflix was able to acquire all rights to the franchise in return for a hefty sum of money. This was a show that stemmed from a lowly streaming service, so can we expect the same to apply to Manifest, which has come from a popular network like NBC? Well, the short answer to this question is yes, as it wouldn't be the first time Netflix brought back a canceled network show. Remember Lucifer? For those of you who don't know, this devilish show was created by the Fox network, who went on to cancel it after 3 seasons. Sound familiar? Shortly after this cancellation, Netflix snapped the franchise up, bringing it back for a 4th season. We now have season 6 of the show releasing in the beginning of next month, showing how Netflix was able to double the runtime with a bigger budget and audience than the network. NBC as a network has also revived a title that was canceled by Fox in the past. We're talking about the popular Brooklyn Nine-Nine, which was canceled by Fox after 5 seasons, but then picked up by NBC for several more to the enjoyment of fans. That wraps up today's video. What do you think of the possible continuation of the franchise? Be sure to let us know